quote this on me. There is no way the Orioles or Red Sox make the playoffs this season. Yeah, yeah. There's no way. There's no way.
For me, I gotta build a snowman.
I don't think all Mavs fans look into the stats like I do.
I'm mixing names, swapping pitchers' names, and everyone today. So thanks for catching.
I've given up on Drew Lock. I think you trade him.
I set the bar really low at the NBA predictions.
How are we talking about the Thunder in a MLB preview? I have no idea.
That's a perfect name. What you said, name brand players. Like, it's not the Great Value Target brand toilet paper or whatever. It's the Charmin Ultra Strong.
I don't know if Nick Nurse is the coach for the Raptors. I don't know if he's the reason why they won the 2019 championship. I feel like that was more of a team effort. Yeah, this questions the firing of Dwayne Casey, who I think is a very underrated coach. He's making the best of the Detroit Pistons situation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I was surprised that the Clippers gave up Lou Williams.
Everything's going wrong for the Lakers at the wrong time.
The Mavs cannot say we do not miss Seth Curry shooting threes.
Them losing like 40 players to the Chargers who play online.
I'm just gonna, and it lands to the Dolphins. I'm just gonna have to throw my hands into the air.
I agree 100%, and the reason why I agree is because this is a terrible trade for the long term.
To me, the Capitals really pushed all their chips for this season. So happy belated birthday to Madison Bowie.
Sam Bennett's someone I really expected to be a better player.
Hello, I'm Mike Grimes, and you've been listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week for December 19th. Today, we will be starting our four-part series where we will be fixing baseball. So today is part one. Part one is when Austin and I have come up with a list. We have not seen each other's lists. We both have 5 things that we consider problems in baseball, specifically Major League, as we both agree, Austin, that this CBA could be a huge, what they decide on this CBA could change baseball's popularity, for better or worse. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
So let's just get right into it. We'll just go one by one. I'll let you go first for your first problem in baseball.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with one that hasn't been around for that long. I'm going to end off with the one I have the most tied to. Start off with the one I have the least, and go in that order. But the one that I have the least tied to, the one that hasn't been in the league for that long, one that I am vehemently against is the zombie runner, ghost runner, runner at second base. The one that's going away, but even though it is an issue I have with baseball because I don't even understand why it was ever implemented.
I see that. I could have guessed, even though they are getting rid with it. That kind of connects to my first one, which is the MLB trying to speed up the game. And I think that was in part of the zombie runner because they wanted to make extra inning games faster by having a guy on second base, making it easier to bring someone in. And so I think that's the reasoning into it. And I just dislike, I think a part of the MLB is it's so different from other, like there's a lot going on, but I think it requires a lot more education on the fans' part than the NFL. You can see a hit and you're like, wow, or you can see a throw, wow. Baseball, you can sort of see that, but we just don't see that a lot in today's game. So do you agree? I think that's why they did it. I don't see another reason. I saw no like real problem. Like it wasn't a thing that aggravated me. It was just a part of a problem that I disliked, which was MLB trying to change the game to fit shorter attention spans, which is a theory going around with younger generations. And I've heard that's not really a good claim, and I've also heard that is a good claim. But I just like baseball the way it is, and I think the more you learn about it, the more you come to appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Is that your first point?
Yeah, my first point was like the MLB trying to change it, and that's why I included. I kind of just transitioned into it because I think the zombie runner was a byproduct of that.
Got it. My second thing that I've had an issue with baseball recently, changing the balls mid-season. It kind of makes it to where the league can't trust, where the players can't trust the league. They don't know what to expect. That affects pitchers, that affects batters, that affects the entire game and could change a World Series winner, could change who makes the playoffs, especially with how close we saw the AL last year. It just is it goes against trust, and if the league and the players have an issue of trust, like we're seeing right now with this entire lockout, it can really spell the end of good times in the league because the players are always going to be against the league. Whatever the league wants to do, the players are going to just disagree with, and vice versa, and can create a very tumultuous relationship.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. That came close to my list, but I left it off. Um, and it kind of, I was going to bring up Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso was like, I think he came up with the conspiracy theory. I think they changed the ball every year or even mid-season to fit the free agency class. And I kind of just like, that's totally not true. And then it comes out that they did change the ball mid-season, and like they may have pumped up the balls for the Field of Dreams game. And I think I do agree with you that is a problem, even though it wasn't on my list, or it isn't on my list. And I just think honesty from, yes, we did change the baseball, would help it, but still not the best of like changing it mid season. But trying to deny that you changed the baseball is an angering thing, or is a frustrating thing.
Yeah. What's your second thing?
My second, I didn't do much of an order, so I'll just pick it out. Is teams tanking. I think while the Rangers have tanked, and I think they're not gonna tank. I hope they don't, because they signed Seager, Simeon, and we have a lot of young stars from when we were tanking. I think it really it doesn't attract many new fans. You do get some diehard fans, but you lose a lot of publicity. Like when your team's losing 100 games a season and it's just not good baseball, who would want to go? Who would fall in love with baseball if you're a team, let's say like the Texas Rangers, who for the majority of their history have not been good and have tanked? The only few good years were probably 2009, a little bit right before the World Series, the back-to-back World Series appearances, to 2014, 2015, when that was the last time we were in the playoffs, I'm pretty sure, against the Blue Jays. Or like
2016,
a
I
team.
think, was the last one.
Yeah,
Or no,
2016.
yeah, maybe
2016.
2016. It was maybe
Okay.
2016 or 2015.
Oh, when we faced the Blue Jays again in 2016.
And they got
I'm just
swept.
Yeah. So and then you can think of like a Cubs fan, like even though they got the 2016 World Series, they're looking like they're tanking, or look like, and just like the Oakland A's trading away all their stars, tanking once again, or planning to trade all away their stars, and then you have the Miami Marlins, and just the team. Most of the teams are tanking. Like you have the Astros, you have the Tigers. The Astros tanked, and then the Tigers and other teams have followed. So I think tanking really doesn't attract many new fans. And how can you get more? If you want to make more money as a baseball team, or just as a baseball league, you should uh, not encourage tanking because it keeps you from attracting fans. Do you agree with that, or do you think it's false?
Yeah, I agree with that. I understand why teams tank, but I totally agree with what you said because it can be very, very sour to watch your team just decide to lose games. But
And you just
going
become disinterested.
yeah, 100%. Now going on to my third one, when teams decide to spend the bare minimum. This year we saw the Orioles and other teams decide to spend less than 50 million on their salaries. The Pirates and Orioles, I think, were both below 50 million or around there. It just teams on their active roster spending no money to tank. It's kind of like what you said, but it's different when a team has young players and is kind of tanking because they're just only playing their young guys so their young guys can get experience versus deciding to pay players almost nothing and have their entire roster full of players who just aren't getting paid a dime. And it just seems like a lot of teams are doing that now, just deciding, oh, we're not going to pay our players. Even the Rays, who are a very good team, are deciding, until this Wander Franco deal, oh, we're just not going to pay players.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's actually on my list. So I'll talk about my third one, and it's payroll. I think, well, we're just stating problems now. Future episodes, we'll be talking about solutions. But to your point, so the last team in payroll is the Cleveland Guardians with 29 million. Then we have the Baltimore Orioles with 29 million. Just 416 um, about 400 more than the Cleveland Guardians. Then you have the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is 34 million. And I mentioned those three teams because then it jumps up to the Miami Marlins with 55 million. Even though that's still low, the payroll for the Pirates, Orioles, and Guardians is less. Those payrolls are less than the annual value of Max Scherzer's contract with the New York Mets, which is 43 million. And that's just one guy. So Max Scherzer is making more money than the whole roster of the Guardians, Orioles, and Pirates.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I think now we can move on to your fourth point.
Yeah, just a little bit before that, just to expound on it a little bit more. If I think there has to be, and this is, I'm going a little bit into solutions here, but I feel like I have to say this. There has to be a cap floor because I'll talk about solutions where I think that cap floor should be. But for a team that's only getting paid 29 million to go out there and play, those players are just, you just know that your owner group doesn't care. They just don't care about winning. And that kind of goes right into my fourth point, teams not caring about winning. And it's not just tanking. It's just they don't, there's a teams that just stay in the middle and they just don't care about getting any better and don't care about moving on. It's been the Orioles for this past half decade. They just been walking through seasons and just walking through seasons, just deciding you shouldn't have to tank for this long. Next season, I don't think the Orioles are going to be much better. I just don't think they are, especially when they're paying this amount of money. And same thing with the Pirates. They haven't made the playoffs since 2015. Or a team like the Rockies, they're just like, we're going to be average for a decade. And teams that just decide, well, we're just not going to be good and just decide not necessarily to tank. Like I said, the Marlins for a very long time here, they haven't necessarily been tanking, but they just aren't getting that much better. We haven't seen that big resurgence from a team like them. The Reds for a long time, they haven't made the playoffs all that much. Since 2012 or 2013, I think. They haven't made the playoffs since 2013. They just continue to just be average. It's not like the Reds are tanking. We don't see the Reds at the bottom of the league, but they just don't make the playoffs. They just walk right through the season, not getting any better, any worse. That was fine. We made a few bucks. People were interested because halfway through the season we were still in a playoff spot. Da 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 da, and then they fall out of a playoff spot, and everyone's like, "Well, the same thing just happened for the last 8 years." It's just teams deciding not necessarily to tank, but just deciding we don't want to, as an owner group, don't want to spend enough money for us to win, and that just annoys me as a baseball fan.
You made some excellent points. So I will. That is not on my list, but I'll talk about something that's just bothering me. It is the trend. And whenever I think of this, I just think of your New York Yankees. Hopefully, they do change it when hopefully the lockout ends and they spend more money or they go spend significantly. It is the trend of just hitting homers or striking out. And that has led to strikeout numbers just inflating and just becoming so high. And I think there's so much more to baseball than just hitting a homer. A homer is incredible to see, and it's definitely a great achievement. And for how many you can hit in the season, but I think a double is great. The bunt, a single, and just fighting for the at bat and to get on base, because I think the Astros do a great job of this. By just putting the ball in play, it's better than just walking to the dugout with an out. Like even if it's a ground out, there's still a chance that it could be an error. And I think that adds more excitement to the game by not changing the integrity of the game. To me, just hitting homers or striking out is hurting the game because there's so much more to that game. And when you do see a strikeout, a legitimate strikeout, well, all strikeouts are legitimate, but in my sense, when you have Joey Gallo, he either strikes out, but now he's starting to walk more, or he hits a homer. But when players are just trying to hit the ball out of the park, it's easier to strike out, and I think that could take away from strikeout numbers. So I think if you fix that, then when someone has like a 16 game strikeout, it's incredible. And then to your point, the Guardians got no hit, I think twice, and almost got hit no 3 times.
I think they got no hit 3 times. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Wow. So, and I think that could be a byproduct of just wanting to hit homers or striking out. And I think that's a problem I see with the MLB. What is your fifth point?
This is a point that we've seen a lot of teams do this over the years, and excuses being made up by uh, organizations and by Manfred himself. It's a decision. It's a confusing decision to do certain stuff with cheaters. And I'm not just saying the Astros. I'm saying people like a lot of people are calling for people like Pete Rose to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, or Barry Bonds, or other players. And we've seen before, like the Black Sox scandal, their championship was taken away. But now, in this time, the Astros wasn't. I just want to see some continuity with the league in all respects. It seems like one day we get one story, and the next day we get a different story, and we don't really know how to react because the league reacts differently to the same stuff. One player will get a PED suspension for the first time of 60 games, and then somebody will get 100 games. And then we see repeat offenders continue to get the same sentence of games off. It just seems like the league does not know what to do every time that they get the opportunity to make a statement that will stick with the league for a long time, to create some sort of precedent. They just refuse to do it because that'll somehow come back to bite them in the butt later. I don't really know how to put this in one singular point. It's just a lack of continuity from the heads of the league that just decide we're going to change this rule this season and then change this rule this season. And that even goes into my point with changing of the balls mid-season. It just makes it to where it just seems like the league doesn't know what it wants. It can't decide, oh, we want this or we want this or we want this. Same thing with the sticky stuff. Uh, it kind of switched throughout the season. Like sometimes they would get checked every inning, and then uh, sometimes it was only when the umpire, or not the umpire went to go check, or the manager of the other team called him out. And at the end of the season, they were checking every inning. It just the league doesn't know what it wants out of its players, and it's hard for a team, an organization, or a player to know what is right or wrong when the team uh, is being told different things from the organization, the MLB organization as a whole.
Yeah, you make some excellent points, especially like punishment wise. Like Nicholas Castellanos got suspended for flexing at the plate after making a great play. It's weird with how the MLB wants to brand itself, and I think you made an excellent point saying it's like they don't know what they want to do, and I that could be why CBA negotiations are not happening and they're in a lockout. So that is a nice observation about one of your problems. And then my final problem is more on a personal note is the jersey sales. And I think it's so difficult to find jerseys. Like to me with the NFL jersey, you can find an NFL jersey for a good price at like a Walmart. Even if it's just like a really famous player. Like you can find so many Zeke jerseys at a Walmart. I've bought a couple of Zeke jerseys at a Walmart earlier when I still like Zeke. So I with the MLB though, you can only get it through the MLB shop, and they're like $300. And for me, like when I was dealing with the Rangers, well, I don't want to invest that much money into a player that could be traded, and so I'd have to find alternative ways to find a jersey. And even with like Fanatics, you can't find every single player. It's mostly the famous players. Like there's still Rugnet Odor jerseys when I look up on Fanatics Rangers jerseys because I'm trying to find a Marcus Semien or Corey Seager jersey. But if Rugnet Odor still pops up, and I'm like, he hasn't been on this team for a whole season, and just MLB. I think the difficulty in finding a jersey, and then you won't see that many people wearing baseball jerseys. I think
because of the cost.
yeah, because of the cost and where like it's mostly the same jersey and like you either have to buy it at the game and that's still a cost and that's just something that bugs me. I wish you, but I think there's a licensing agreement that only the MLB can sell jerseys, so they think they can make more money by just selling them themselves. But I think it hurts the attraction to fans of like, oh, look at this jersey I got. Like Fanatics, they have Fanatics branded jerseys, and I'm a huge fan of those, especially for Mavs jerseys. So if the ML, that's just one problem I see with the jerseys. What do you have to add?
Yeah, just for comparison, I bought a Kyle Korver Bucks jersey for less than $100 about 2 years ago. It's just it. I got a Ben Wallace jersey for Christmas, and I'm pretty sure that was 150. And that's an historic. It's the 2004 Pistons jersey. Like it's an historic jersey, and I got that for half the price of a normal MLB jersey. I want a Brett Gardner jersey. This has been known, but I just don't. I can't just go out there and spend $300 on a jersey. I don't want to buy a knockoff because the knockoffs are terrible. Like there's no good knockoffs in my opinion. They just don't feel right. They don't fit right. And MLB just doesn't have like my most of my jerseys are NBA. I have some hockey jerseys. Hockey jerseys go for about 150 if you're getting them like that, or maybe 100. Depends on what jersey you're getting. My Boston Bruins one, I think I got for like 125 or something like that. That's affordable. If I'm only gonna buy, okay, I want to go buy a jersey. I want to go buy a jersey. I can save up enough money to get 125 for a jersey. I can do that, especially if it's for a team that I love, like the Boston Bruins. But you can't reasonably expect people to save for a $300 jersey, especially when all the, like you said, all the moves that are being made. If you would have bought a Joey Gallo jersey, he's already gone. Now he may return later, but that it just doesn't feel the same once a player leaves, in my opinion. And it just,
Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah, and it just is harder and harder and harder, like you said, to find jerseys that are cheap enough, that are affordable, and it just is going to be hard for anyone to make that type of purchase, especially with, like you said, all the moves that the MLB's been making as of recent.
And then speaking to NBA have like so many different edition jerseys. Like there's the Mavs 2020, the 21 City Edition jersey, and they're easy to find, the City Edition jerseys, and different types of jerseys like your Ben Wallace jersey. To me, like I love the Rangers like blue, powder blue jersey, but I can never find it. So I'm not sure if like the Yankees have a special edition jersey
Well,
that you just cannot find.
well, yes, there is. It's the League of the Field of Dreams game. That's the only extra jersey that the Yankees have had out in the last like 50 years. It seems like we have the white striped jersey. We have the gray. I even have the blue one that we wear in spring training. It's not when we wear maybe once or twice during the season, I think. And then I know we wear it during spring training as well. I have that jersey, a judge of that jersey. I have a blank of the gray. I have a Gary Sanchez of the white. And then the only other jersey I'm going to be able to find is the Field of Dreams game. But those go for like 500 probably. Like it just goes for way too much, and it's not worth the money for me to spend.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, um, that concludes each of our lists containing 5 problems we see with the MLB. As I said, this is part one of a 4-part series. As the MLB is in a lockout, we were talking about how we would want to fix baseball. So make sure to be looking out for part 2 of the MLB. So where we'll be diving more into the solutions or possibilities of what can happen, and then we'll continue from there. But this is just a problem, so we're really going deep into this, and we hope you enjoyed it. It was great hearing Austin about his jerseys. I was an unexpected thing. I was expecting the zombie runner, but the dialogue was great. So be on the lookout and feel free to tweet at us if you have any problems or comment or you see any problems with the MLB that we did not mention. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.